Howie Fisher from Fisher's Flies. Thanks for checking in. Today I'm going to be tying up a Lance Egan classic. This is the thread Frenchie. This is another one of his very productive, famous fly patterns. Typically tied up in like an olive or dark brown color, but this is a PMD sulfur variation that I tie up, and I've had some success with it. I'm going to tie this one today in a size 16. I'm going to be using an A-Rex freshwater 555 mini jig hook. For the bead, I'm pairing that with a 3.0 millimeter slotted tungsten bead and copper. For the thread on this, I'm using UTC Ultra Thread and 70 denier in yellow. I've tried a couple different colors close to this, and straight yellow just seems to be the best once you put some UV resin on it. So I'm going to go ahead and start my thread right behind the bead, give it a snip with my trusty renowned scissors. And I'm just going to go ahead and take my thread back to the bend of the hook. I'm going to tie in my tail, which is going to be Coq de Leon, medium pardo in this case. I'm going to go ahead and strip off half a dozen to a dozen fibers. Doesn't have to be exact. And then I'm just going to go tear those from the stems. Try and make sure the butts are aligned. I'm going to make this tail about the length of the body. I personally like to tie mine on, get it in position, and then pull it to length. I like to tie it a little bit longer on purpose, and then I'll pull it forward. I'm going to go ahead and bring my thread up all the way back behind the bead to tie in my wire. Here I'm using copper wire in size brassy. I'm going to go ahead and tie this on to the opposite side of the hook for me. This is actually pretty important, especially when tying with pheasant tail, but especially in this scenario, I'll tell you why. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap that back all the way to where I tied the tail in. And then I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I have a nice even body with a slight taper to make sure I have a good base for that wire to wrap forward. A couple times back and forth is all you really need. You don't want a huge bulky body on this. So I'm going to wrap my wire, and this is why wrapping it on the opposite side of me is important, because when you pull it up and over that tail, it doesn't pull those fibers with it anywhere. If you tie it in on the near side, your first wrap goes pretty much right over those tails and can sometimes pull the tail fibers with them. I'm going to go ahead and secure it, helicopter my fly off, and then I'm going to get straight to adding some UV resin. I'm going to go ahead and add a generous amount, not too crazy, but not too little. I like to add a little bit more than I know I want to end up with, and if I know it's too thick, I'll just take some off with my fingers. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the UV light. Once that's cured, I'm going to go ahead and reach for my dubbing, which is Ice Dub UV in Shrimp Pink. This is the classic Frenchie color that Lance Egan uses. I'm going to go ahead and give it just a tiny little dubbing loop. Don't want to build up too much. And I actually did put a little bit more than I like on it, so I'm going to pull some off. And then to finish the fly, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a whip finish. If you want a hot spot collar, you can whip finish and then go ahead and switch out for a red color, obviously. On this one, I'm just going to go ahead and finish with the yellow. So there you have it, the thread Frenchie and PMD Sulphur. Thanks for